Okay, sweet. Okay, so putting a wash on your canvas. Putting a wash on your canvas, we do a wash with oil paint and mineral spirits. I like to use Gamsol, right? I told you guys that last time because it is not fumy. It has a slow evaporation rate, which means fewer chemicals are going into the air that you're going to be exposed to. You can learn way more about it on Gamblin's website. But I use Gamsol. And then we're going to use, you guys have Naphthol Red? We're going to do a wash with Naphthol Red because sometimes looking at this white canvas is freaky. You want to start your painting and you have this glaringly white canvas staring back at you, and it can sometimes be a little freaky. So we're just going to put a wash of color down just so that there's already paint on the canvas. Usually it's easier to start painting that way because you have already started painting. We're going to do it with red. That dates back to like Dutch old masters Rembrandt. Those of you who might be familiar with Rembrandt, he did his underlayers in red. He did figures, so with figures there's a lot of warmth in figures, right? So doing a red underlayer just helped bring out that warmth. We're going to start by doing a red underpainting as well. So if you think back, I know a lot of you haven't had, only one of you has had painting one, right? So usually in painting one, you start with a still life that's called like a grisaille still life. So that's just black and white. So really with that, you're focused on highlight, midtone, and shadow. We're going to do the same thing in here. And again, it's going to help those of you who have not had painting one kind of catch you up to speed a little bit. But instead of black and white, we're going to use red and white. So we're going to establish highlight, midtone, shadows with red and white. Then we're going to put color on top of that. The materials, I also use gloves just to keep my hands a little bit cleaner. I use blue nitrile gloves. Before I do the wash, I'm going to use painter's tape, and I'm going to tape the edges of the canvas. And this is something I want you guys to do. It's a good habit to get into. So this is where the demo is really going to fail, right? The recording. Because there's no way I can film this. So with taping, one thing, I'm going to try to show this on video. I'm really like sealing it down and pressing it down as I apply it. Some tape is more adhesive than other tape. You definitely want to use painter's tape though, so blue or green tape. And then you want to make sure that, let's see, can I get this? I don't know how well you guys can see that, but notice how like the tape is not coming on top of the face of the painting. There's a little bit of a gap, and then there's the tape. What happens if you get it too close to the face of the painting is that you might be looking at the painting and there's going to be like a white gap where the tape comes down. You don't want that in your painting, right? And this preserves the sides, so when you get finished with the painting, you can just take the tape off and you're good to go. Sometimes you want to paint the sides white again just to freshen them up. But this is a good technique. Down the line, if you want to show process, if you want to let that process show on your canvas, on the sides, we can talk about that. I just want to expose you to different ways of doing things initially. So you can see I'm like really pressing it down, making sure it's not going over the face. I'm kind of wrapping it around back. See that? Wrapping it around back. And for this demo, I don't think the camera will pick this up, but some of you up close might be able to see. I'm using a scrap canvas with a hole in it. We have some spares in there. So like this is what not to do. Don't use a canvas with a hole in it. But this is a demo, so I can use it. All right, so once you got the tape on the sides, so can you see blue tape from where you are on the face of the painting? On the face, no, right? It should be clean, clear, crisp. Let's see. All right, let's move it a little bit closer. All right, so you got the tape. Next thing that you're gonna do, that I do, is get your naphthol red, right? Again, naphthol red. And I just put a few little dabs on the surface of the canvas, straight on the surface. Not a lot. If you get too much, you're just going to have to use a little bit more mineral spirits to smear it around. So just a little bit. You'll notice naphthol red goes a long way. It's highly pigmented, so a little bit goes a long way. You'll also need paper towels, which I forgot. Okay, so paper towels. You can use whatever paper towels you have at your home. So the pigment's on it, the edges are taped. Next thing, you got your Gamsol or mineral spirits. You can get mineral spirits at Walmart, at Lowe's. They just might be a little bit more fumey. And I'm just gonna, kind of like with fingernail polish remover and a cotton ball, I'm just gonna get a little bit on the rag, a little bit more. And then I'm gonna take directly, like the paper towel with mineral spirits directly on the canvas, on top of the paint. And just smeared around. So you can kind of see, like, that's super pigmented, it's super saturated, right? The goal for this wash is we want a nice mid-tone. We don't want like the darkest red, we don't want it super light, we want a nice mid-tone. So what do you guys think? Is this going to be too dark or too light? Too dark, right? We need to lighten it up a little bit. So that's where you can just use a little bit more mineral spirits. You can really soak down your rag. And you want to push it all the way to the edges. I go around the corners all the way to the tape so you can see I don't leave like that white gap. I go all the way to the edges. If you have long hair, tie it back like mine is tied back. Try not to get too close to it too. It's easy to come up with like paint lines on the front, especially if we're on a table. So with this demo, I purposely put a little bit more paint on the canvas because probably a lot of you are going to do that. That's what usually happens. So I'm going to show you what to do if you do get a little bit too much paint and it just feels a little too saturated. Okay. It knows I'm pushing it all the way to the edges. I'm trying to be pretty neat with it so that it's all going in one direction. It's pretty even all over it. So it's lightened up a little bit, right? You can kind of see that on the TV, right? Say you want it lighter though. What do you guys think we do if we want it lighter? Add more Gamsol and maybe get a new paper towel, right? Because this has pigment on it. So I'm going to get a new paper towel, a little bit more Gamsol. I'm going to do a little bit more. And really, you just kind of keep at it until it lightens up. You're taking pigment off using that clean paper towel. It's getting a little bit lighter. You can also like refold the paper towel, right? So you have a cleaner area on it. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to go a little bit lighter even still. What? Oh, it does that. Maybe it's been 10 minutes. Okay, I can't touch it because I have paint covering me. So video, I hope you're still recording. If you're not, I learned something new today. So you guys, like, I'm just continuing to push it around the surface to lighten it up a little bit. When I think it's about good, I usually just take it all in one direction. It really doesn't matter, we're going to be covering over this anyway, but just for me it looks cleaner and I like that a little bit better. Let me see. Yeah, whenever it hits 10 minutes, it goes like the screen goes dark, but you can see it up there, right? Yeah, okay. So we can think about, in terms of a midtone, you know, we have highlight, so highlight is probably going to be almost white, right? And then the shadow color would be the color of the paint when it was first on here. So remember how saturated that was? Super dark, super saturated. So I think probably somewhere in this area for you guys. Notice how you can see the stretcher bar. I'm going to try to get this. I don't know if that's picking up on the screen. But you can see where the stretcher bar is on the back. That's okay. We're covering this up. This wash is just to eliminate the white of the canvas, to make your job as a painter hopefully not as scary once you go to lay down paint the first time. So we're going to do the wash. We're going to let it dry. Usually the mineral spirits, it helps it dry a little bit faster. And then, like usually probably like within an hour, then we can draw on top of this.